big heads-up heavy delays. It's due to road work southbound I-15 in Mona, backing traffic into Santaquin. Get the Intermountain West Contractors Advantage. Quality, speed, value for your money, and use code RADIO1000 to get $1,000 off a roof replacement now. Visit iwcroofing.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, sunny and beautiful through the weekend with highs in the mid to upper 70s. We're expecting a cold front to move in, though, by the middle of next week. Right now, sunny and 65. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
The Biden administration announced this week that it will waive 26 federal laws to construct a border wall in Texas. 2 years ago, the administration stated that building a border wall was not a serious policy solution. So the question is, why are they attacking and doing that now? Here's what President Biden had to say.
The border wall, the money was appropriated for the border wall. I tried to get them to reappropriate, to redirect that money. They didn't. They wouldn't. And in the meantime, there's nothing under the law other than they have to use the money for what was appropriated. I can't stop that.
Do you believe the border wall works?
No.
Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas said this wasn't a policy reversal at all.
There is no new administration policy with respect to the border wall. From day one, this administration has made clear that a border wall is not the answer. That remains our position, and our position has never wavered.
So a lot more questions than there are answers, a few head-scratching comments. So as always, it's time to get past the headlines of it all. Let's think again about what's going on. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
Well, when the announcement came out, it was a little bit of a head-scratcher and head-snapper for many, including those in the president's own political party and many of his allies who weren't quite sure what all of this meant, if this was a reversal, what this was actually going to do. Was he changing policy and direction? Why, when they had gone against it so heavily under the previous administration, is this now the right thing to do? So we want to just unbundle and just unwind all of that so we can figure out what's really going on, what it means, what it doesn't, and then, of course, most important, what comes next. And always pleased to have David Beer joining us, Associate Director of Immigration Studies at the Cato Institute. David, as you look at all of the things that have taken place between what was announced through regulation, what the president commented, what Secretary Mayorkas commented while he was in Mexico yesterday, give us the lay of the land. What does this all really mean?
It's a real mess, and it's a real head scratcher. You had Mayorkas saying that we don't really need this wall, we don't really want it, but he said the exact opposite thing in the only place that matters, which was the Federal Register notice saying that he's waiving all these laws to get this done immediately because there was such an immediate need, he said. So it is a mystery why they're expediting this thing they supposedly oppose, and going out to the press saying we don't really want to do this thing that we're expediting. It makes it really strange from a political perspective if that's the motivation. So the idea that they're being forced to do this right now, that they had to waive all these laws, is not true. The money is appropriated. They do have to spend it on something to do with a border barrier in Texas. But the idea that they're being forced to, really what will end up happening is they're going to take a bunch of people's land down in Texas. Private property owners are terrified that it's going to be their land being taken and put up a big wall on those 20 miles. And, of course, the rest of the border, where there's no wall and there aren't any agents patrolling, is going to be the same as it is right now.
Yeah, and so let's unpack that just a little bit. One of the things that Washington is really good at is if there's something that you don't want to do, there are like 69,000 different ways to slow walk it, to slow creep it, or to, in the end, just run out of time and say, oh, we tried, but we just couldn't do it. And so why is it that the president is saying, hey, we have to do this? There's urgency. There's so much urgency that we actually have to do it right now, and we have to clear the way by just kind of waving a wand and getting rid of some of these policies.
Yeah, I mean, I think there must be some internal politics that they're not telling us about, that somebody in Texas who's a Democrat said, we really want this wall and we want it right now, and it's going to help out my area or help out our talking points or something, because they're making it quite clear, from the White House perspective, that they don't want to do this. So there must be some other reason besides what's being known to date that would explain this bizarre set of circumstances.
Yeah, so walk us through a little bit from your perspective in terms of the it's always a little bit of a tightrope for the president to navigate when it comes to the border and security down there. We know he has stunned a few of his allies with these announcements this week. How does the president navigate that from the left flank of the Democratic Party as well as those that are kind of the moderate middle in terms of both the rhetoric behind it, but then the actual policy as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think the president, really doesn't like the wall because he's building his predecessor's project for him. But I think at a more basic level, policy-wise, he doesn't disagree with it. He voted for the Secure Fence Act in 2006. Obviously the party's moved a lot since then, but he still fundamentally has a long history of supporting border walls and fences and so forth. So I wouldn't be shocked to find out that actually he does favor this, but he's saying that he doesn't because he doesn't want to give Trump any credit for building his project and his signature, presidential promise for him. But we don't really know. I think from my standpoint, this is 20 miles. We have a 2,000-mile border. You can cut through any fence with a $100 purchase at any Home Depot. So it's not something that I think is, fundamentally changing the situation at the border or really, there's a lot of news about it, but I don't think it's the central issue. Down there right now.
Yeah, and let's get to that because that is what we want to do. Is we want to cut through. We don't want to cut through the cheap fences with something from Home Depot. But getting beyond the rhetoric of it and the back and forth and the confusion, I think even within the administration, you're rightly pointing out, David, which is why we love to have you on. Let's look at what the real desired result is, and what do we actually need to do to get towards that desired result.
Look, we got to do something about the illegal immigration issue. The number of people crossing illegally is near historic highs, and it is a problem. The property owners aren't enthusiastic about a wall being built on their property, but they're not enthusiastic about a bunch of people tramping through their lands either. So I think we need a legal immigration reform that creates a clear, consistent path for people who want to come legally to contribute to this country, and that's what we're lacking. And that really falls back on Congress, but also the administration's policies haven't helped either. I mean, they told people that they would be able to apply to enter the country legally through this phone app. If only they came to the U.S.-Mexico border, they could apply through this phone app. The phone app has totally not worked at all, and that's why they're crossing illegally. They basically created this mechanism to encourage people to come to the border so they can use the phone app. It's the only place that it will work. But then once they get here, they find out, actually, sorry, the phone app's full. No more appointments. Fend for yourself. And they are fending for themselves. And the way they're doing it is by crossing illegally. And that's causing the chaos that we're seeing. So it all plays together. There's you got to look at the incentives in the big picture to understand why we have so much illegal immigration here.
Yeah, great insight, great perspective. David Beers, the Associate Director of Immigration Studies at the Cato Institute, always helps us get to the policy and the desired results. David, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
A great perspective there. Again, a lot of the back and forth in terms of what the president did and didn't do and who wants to give credit to whom and how much of the wall is a former President Trump issue and how much does the current president, Joe Biden, want to take responsibility for building the wall. And it's a lot of politics. Unfortunately, it's keeping us a safe distance from doing exactly what David Beard just told us. We've got to get to the policy. And if we're encouraging people to come to the border so they can use an app and go through the legal process, only to say doesn't work, overloaded, fend for yourself, of course they're going to come across the border. We have to have the right incentives, the right expectations, and the right process to actually get it done.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. Do you need tickets for Taylor?
Yes, please.
It's hard to find good ones to the Eras concert movie.
Tell me about it.
So let KSL do this for your kids. Or maybe it's for you. We're giving away a pair of tickets to a private KSL screening of the Eras movie. Just listen each day at 8:45, 11:45, and 3:45 for your chance to win. 3 chances to win every weekday. 8:45, 11:45, and 3:45 for the next 2 weeks on KSL News Radio.
Hey guys, do you know what makes Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City different? You. Every Revive treatment and medication is personalized just for you. Revive has the experts that guys go to when their current treatment isn't working. They have a complicated medical condition, or they're just not happy with their daily performance. Since 2011, they've helped thousands of local men suffering with the symptoms of low T and ED. Their goal is simple, to get to the bottom of your issues and fix them. Your best performance requires more than generic ED medications or a low-dose testosterone booster at a low-ball price like you find online. Revive medications are custom compounded, affordable, and guaranteed to resolve your issues. Stop dealing with the symptoms of low T or ED. Book your T-check and exam today. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit us at ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Transform your outdated kitchen with half-price granite. Replace your entire kitchen with beautiful and affordable options with granite for only $2,500. Yeah, $2,500. Not interested in countertops? No worries. Half-price granite is now in stock with gorgeous cabinets and flooring options to choose from. You're sure to find something you love. Call 801-486-1700. 801-486-1700. Half-price granite. Online at halfpricegranite.com. Half-price granite. Affordable luxury.
On job sites, few things are more important than a solid work boot. At Boot Barn Work, we pride ourselves on knowing that no matter your trade, when there's hard work to be done, your boot should be built for non-stop protection and mobility. Thorogood checks all the boxes. Their Wear Anywhere boots are time-tested and crafted with the highest quality materials for relentless support. For job-fitted boots, Thorogood at Boot Barn Work.
Go to KSLKids.com and donate to the KSL Give-a-thon. We need your help raising money for sick Utah kids receiving treatment at Primary Children's Hospital.
Be a smile maker. An automatic gift each month helps save the lives of children all year long. Sponsored by J&J Garden Center in Layton.
A big thanks to other generous sponsors, including Big Canyon Homes and Sugar House Industries, for their amazing support of the kids at Primary Children's.
With the KSL Give-a-thon, we can't do it without you. Please give.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, the Bureau of Reclamation is trying to protect endangered fish in the Colorado River below Lake Powell by making things uncomfortable for invasive fish coming through the dam. Second, Senator Mike Lee doesn't think the federal government should be paying to study gender transitions for minors. He's sponsoring a bill to stop it. And third, a doctor from Denver has been accused of drugging and assaulting more than a dozen women. Right now, 65 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Get deeper insights on the news from Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. During the congressional fight over government funding and finding a new Speaker of the House to lead, additional funding for Ukraine has been put on hold, with uncertainty prevailing about the future of U.S. aid to Ukraine. Can Ukraine afford to have this policy be turned into one more Washington political football? I think the thing that we all have to remember is that in the face of uncertainty, uncertainty always undermines confidence, and it actually emboldens the enemy. And to help us break all of that down, I'm really pleased to have joining us back on the show Jonathan Sweet, a retired Army colonel, served 30 years as a military intelligence officer, has a great piece in The Hill on this very subject with his tag team partner, Mark Toth. And Jonathan, welcome back to the show.
For having me back, I appreciate it.
So as you two were breaking this down in The Hill, talking about this political football, give us kind of the deeper line of that. People can say, well, we can have a debate about funding to Ukraine. This seems to me to be a very crucial season. And again, the more hesitation, the less inspiration, the less confidence that both Ukraine will have, and the more emboldened Vladimir Putin will be.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. I think, as Mark and I said, look, we're 20 months into a war that the United States has supplied upwards to $40 billion worth of funding, hardware, intelligence. And it's just not going at a pace, I believe, that the American public, or at least our politicians, wanted to go at. It's right on line with the pace that the Ukrainian military is operating on. And their strategy simply is to knock out as much artillery as they can, hit as deep targets as they can, set conditions for a final assault onto Crimea. So it comes at a very bad time. 45 days without funding will be difficult, though I'm not entirely convinced that the Europeans won't step up and double down on some of their efforts, particularly the Baltic states and Poland. But it is something to worry about.
Yeah, it seems to me that this is one of those that the when to is just as important as the how to, or the what to, and the timing. You talk about in battle those kairos moments, those unique moments of time, and I sense that those are either there or coming. And if we miss those windows, what are we likely to see, especially going into kind of the bogged down period of winter?
Yeah, and those windows that you talk about are critical. Right now, we're talking about Crimea, and the fact that Ukraine right now is making that peninsula untenable, as General Hodges would refer to it as. They are taking out seaports, airports, military headquarters, supply depots. They are literally setting the conditions for an eventual assault on the peninsula, and to stop, or to have to stop, and to afford Russia more time to dig in, to fortify their defensive positions, to sow more minefields. It's just going to be like attacking the main defensive lines all over again. You need momentum. You have to maintain momentum, and this certainly does not allow Ukraine to maintain momentum.
Yeah, that momentum is everything, and you've talked about it before on this show. That if you're just doing that, 6 inches in a cloud of dust, kind of breaking of it without being able to be fully on the offensive, get those deep targets, soften it up so you can accelerate that momentum. To me, it seems like this is like the worst of times to be saying, well, we don't have enough to do the deep strikes. We don't have enough to actually execute the mission.
Yeah, and it's hard to understand, especially, yesterday, the prime minister for Great Britain goes on Twitter and he says this. He says, look, I say this to our allies, give Zelensky the tools, the Ukrainians will finish the job. And that message was clearly oriented towards President Biden, but it was also oriented towards the German Chancellor Scholz. We're talking those key weapon systems, ATACMS and the Taurus cruise missiles, what he's saying, get them the tools that they need to accomplish the mission and get it done now. The window of opportunity is closing.
Yeah, and let's zoom out just a little bit on this, because and you alluded to this in your piece at thehill.com, that the United States pulling back or freezing or being unable to execute and get this funding done, it also has a ripple effect or a chilling effect, I think, in terms of our NATO allies, but also other allies around the region and in other parts of the world who also have to be questioning, wait a minute, if the U.S. says they're with us, are they really with us, or are we going to be hung out to dry and not have what we need to finish the job?
Yeah, there's a pattern there. Obviously, it starts with this administration in Afghanistan. It moves over to Ukraine. You look at Sudan. You look at what's going on in West Africa, and there's a crisis of confidence, I believe, within some countries that are looking at the United States, going, "Will you be there when we need us, or when we need you?" You have to wonder if you're one of these countries in Eastern Europe that has lived under Russian rule. If you're the Baltic states, if you're Poland, if you're Romania, and Bulgaria, you really got to be wondering, is the United States going to let Ukraine fail, one? And then two, if Ukraine does fail, are we next? And if we are next, do we wait for Russia to rearm and refit itself, or do we take the fight to Russia? And then all that does is invoke Article 5, and we're going to be back in Europe again, this time fighting.
Yeah, and that's so important to point out that with our NATO allies, that if they are attacked by Vladimir Putin and Russia, then we do have that Article 5 component of attack on any of those is an attack on all. And then that completely changes the dynamics of the conversation and what comes next. So as you look at this moving forward, you also noted in your piece, and I love the phrasing of this, we always talk about it in the context of good enough is never enough. You talked about it in terms of just enough is not enough when it comes to what Ukraine needs and their path to victory.
Yeah, and in this case, I make two arguments. The first argument is you can give Ukraine all the air defense systems that you could ever want to provide them. And the bottom line is those air defense systems will shoot down individual missiles, but they will not destroy the platform that's delivering the missile. ATACMS, fighter aircraft, Storm Shadow, Scout, Taurus, they will destroy those weapon systems because they have the range and the capability to hit those targets. So, and that's the big thing. That's the just enough part. We're giving them just enough to survive. We're not giving them just enough to take on the enemy and to prevent. Look, air defense is a necessary component, but if you do not destroy the system that is launching the missiles, they're just going to fire those missiles tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And it simply becomes an attrition of missiles. Who can fire more missiles and who can fire more air defense? Who can outlast one another? And that's what we get at. Just enough is defensive. Enough is getting them those tools. Look, HIMARS-enabled cluster munitions will outrange the 155 cluster munitions that are being given to right now, 15 to 20 miles versus 70 to 90 miles. If you can't affect that third defensive line that the director of analysis at DIA talked about a few days ago in The Economist, if you can't affect that, but when you get to it, it's just like fighting the first line all over again.
Right.
And you can't affect it with 155, you got to affect it with a different munition. And that's what we talk about, enabling them to win, giving them offensive capability, and then not restricting their use of it.
Great insight as always, Jonathan Sweet, retired Army Colonel, 30 years of military intelligence officer service. We thank you for your service as always, Jonathan, and we love your perspective and helping us break this down in terms of what it means right back here at home. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, Boyd. I appreciate again the opportunity to come on your show. Thank you.
All right, that's Jonathan Sweet. And again, great piece in The Hill, thehill.com. Check that out today, because the longer we hesitate, the more we vacillate back and forth, the more emboldened and rearmed, regrouped Vladimir Putin becomes. We have to have a different kind of conversation. Do we want to do just enough, or do we want to just do enough to get it done? We'll be right back.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top local story this hour: hiring sped up in September across the country. The United States added a bigger number of jobs in September than many economists expected. Zions Bank senior economist Robert Spendlove says the U.S. unemployment rate just didn't change.
Unemployment rate stayed the same at 3.8%, so we see that kind of stable. It increased, had a little bit of a jump last month, and this month it held steady.
Spendlove says because the economy is still growing quickly, the Fed will likely keep on raising interest rates. Red Cross says it has an emergency need for type O blood. That's in the face of a blood shortage. Type O blood most requested by hospitals, often the first to run out because of high demand. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Officials in Penrose, Colorado, outside Colorado Springs, made a disturbing discovery this week when they entered a local funeral home and found at least 115 bodies improperly stored inside that facility. Officers said they had multiple reports of a strong odor coming from the funeral home. That prompted a visit by the deputies who made that discovery. Because of the biohazard risks, a disaster declaration was issued by Colorado's governor to allocate state resources to help process the scene and identify the bodies. That could likely take dental records and DNA to get done. Your money at this moment: the Dow Jones average up 393 points on the day right now. The NASDAQ is up 248. And our KSL weather: beautiful sunny skies for the next several days. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
We have enough people running around Broadcast House at 4 in the morning to field a football team.
Producers, reporters, the traffic team, and us.
This is Tim and Amanda.
Join us each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio. Go to KSLkids.com and donate to the KSL Give-a-thon. We need your help raising money for sick Utah kids receiving treatment at Primary Children's Hospital.
Be a smile maker. An automatic gift each month helps save the lives of children all year long. Sponsored by J&J Garden Center in Layton.
A big thanks to other generous sponsors, including Big Canyon Homes and Sugar House Industries, for their amazing support of the kids at Primary Children's.
With the KSL Give-a-thon, we can't do it without you. Please give.
If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Even though that's an old adage, it's still very true today. And it's especially true of your old 401k. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, asking you to get that old 401k in sight and out of the company you no longer work for. But don't roll it into your new 401k. That could be one of the worst things you do. Of course that's easy. But when has the easiest way ever been the best way? Instead, call Trajan Wealth and learn about all of your options, including a way to earn an upfront bonus of up to 25% for your future income just for rolling it over. That's right. You could earn up to a 25% bonus for your retirement income just for rolling that 401k over with Trajan Wealth. Don't roll that 401k into your new company plan. Don't do it without calling Trajan Wealth first. Call 801-899-7600 or visit TrajanWealth.com.
Guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Hey guys, are you over 30? Let's talk about testosterone and performance. Your testosterone can decline at an average of 1 to 2% a year after you turn 30. And Revive Men's Health have been experts at treating men with low testosterone and ED since 2011. We're the clinic guys come to when their current treatment isn't working. They have a complicated medical condition, or they're just not happy with their performance. We love what we do and the patients we care for. You can ask our patients. We did, and we have a 99% patient satisfaction rate this year. Our patients even tell us we're more affordable than their insurance deductibles and copays. Let's get to the bottom of your issues and fix them. That's what we do, and we do it really well. Book your T-Check and exam today. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or send us a private message at ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a crash in Murray, 4500 South, just to the side of 3rd East, and the final cleanup of an accident in Fort Union. This is on the exit ramp from eastbound I-215 southbound at Union Park Avenue. Dracula returns, and yes, there are flying vampires. Live with the Ballet West Orchestra, October 20th through the 28th. Tickets at balletwest.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, sunny and beautiful through the weekend with highs in the mid to upper 70s. And we're expecting a cold front to move in by the middle of next week. Right now, 65 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources, an inside look at 2024 presidential politics.
Well, it is Friday, and this is the day that we go with our Inside Sources look at the inside of presidential politics. We often start by issuing our disclaimer that trying to understand the behavior of those running for president is like trying to smell the color 7. So we're going to try to smell the color 7 this week. And one of the most interesting things of all of this week is that there's not a whole lot of presidential politics news this week. All of the Republican candidates for primary kind of went silent, almost cricket levels of silence. There was just nothing, no major speeches, no major social media pushes. Even the fundraising chatter was a little quieter than normal. And, of course, you can probably chalk that up to the fact that there was chaos raining down on the House of Representatives in the ousting of former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. And so I think that this was one of those where those running for president chose to stay out of the blast zone. Because there was a lot of emotion up there on Capitol Hill, and there was a lot of feelings going on inside the chamber. So those are key colleagues that you would need as a presidential candidate. And so none of them wanted to offend or upset or alienate anyone on their own side of the aisle, plus all of the followers and those that were weighing in either for or against Kevin McCarthy to stay as Speaker. So a very quiet week of presidential politics. And pretty much the only one who was out there talking at all was the current occupant of the White House, President Joe Biden. He did have a lot to say this week on a wide range of topics, although, interestingly, very few formal appearances or activities on his calendar. Really, through Wednesday, he was pretty much behind the scenes. He did give a speech this morning touting the accomplishments of his administration in terms of employment and job creations as the numbers came out. And, of course, he attributed the success to his self-coined word, Bidenomics.
This morning we learned the economy created 336,000 jobs in September alone. The unemployment rate has stayed below 4% for 20 months in a row, the longest stretch in 50 years. We have the highest share of working-age Americans in the workforce in 20 years. It's no accident. It's Bidenomics.
So the 336,000 new jobs in September was a surprise to many. I don't know that anyone really saw that kind of rebound in the job creation space. Also, a lot of other economic things that are challenging and are really an interesting catch-22 for the president in terms of what's going on. We'll come back to that in a moment. The president also made comments today about the short timeline that Congress is functioning on to, guess what, get the government funded before another showdown begins.
House Republicans shouldn't put us back in a crisis mode again. We have only 40 days for Congress to get back to work, to fund the government, avoid a shutdown, and protect the tremendous gains American workers have made over the past 2.5 years. Shutdown would mean troops don't get paid. Air traffic controllers wouldn't get paid. There'd be all kinds of problems at airports. Loans to small businesses would be delayed. It's time to stop fooling around. House Republicans, it's time for you to do your job. Continue our progress, growing the economy, investing in America, investing in the American people. So let's get to work for the American people.
And you can see how the chaos in the House has been great for the Biden presidential campaign. His poll numbers have been sagging. His favorability numbers are way underwater. His approval in terms of handling the economy is also way underwater. So this is a good thing for the president. It's a good chance for him to tout actual numbers. And then he can also say, look at the chaos that the Republicans are having just amongst themselves. That's not what governing is supposed to look like. So those are all very good things for the campaign. Again, whether you're on either of those sides or no side at all, just from a campaign political strategy standpoint, that's good for President Joe Biden and his reelection. The president also answered today reporters' questions about how he would work with a new speaker, whoever that ends up being. And the president, of course, was polite and said he'd try to work with anybody.
Whomever the House Speaker is, I'm going to try to work with. They control half the Congress. There's some people I imagine it's going to be easier to work with than others, but whoever the Speaker is, I'll try to work with.
Now, the biggest challenge for the president today, as he was touting Bidenomics, he was comparing and contrasting it to what he likes to call Maganomics, which has been a really confusing set of talking points for the president to wind his way through. But one of the challenges for the president was actually asked by one reporter who asked why so many Americans are feeling negatively towards the economy. The president's response was interesting.
I think the people, those 300,000+ people who got jobs, feel better about the economy. The American people are smart as hell and know what their interests are. I think they know they're better off financially than they were before. It's a fact. And all that data, all that polling stuff shows they're more positive about the economy than they've been, more positive about their jobs, etc.
So a little bit of a mixed message there from the president, and a little bit off in terms of what the data is showing versus what the polling is showing. Those are always very distinct things we have to keep separated in our political discussions. And so I think the hardest thing for the president, and this is where the president has struggled, is that even on a day like today, where you can say, wow, 336,000 new jobs, that's a great September. And so the president wants to tout that. At the same time, there is this incongruence that is going on with the American people. Because despite the fact that the president said the American people are smart, they know they're better off, the reality is that is not what the American people are feeling. Overwhelmingly, they do not feel that they are better off economically. And so, again, whether the polling or the data or the jobs number, you can point to a lot of positives for the president, but there's this disconnect between what the president is saying and what the American people are living and experiencing in their own work, in their own communities, and right around their own kitchen table as they try to deal with high costs, inflation, energy prices, and so on. So that's a big test for the president, and I think that was probably the weakest part of his message today, was trying to square that circle, that he just couldn't quite get to a point where the American people really are feeling good about what they should feel good about. And so that's a challenging thing for the president, and that'll be tough for him throughout the campaign as we roll into 2024. Now, 2 days ago, President Biden delivered another speech about his student debt relief efforts during his administration. He first highlighted the accomplishments made toward reforming the current dysfunctional system of student loans.
Since my administration has taken significant action to provide student debt relief to as many borrowers as possible, as quickly as possible. That starts with making sure the existing system works and the way it was supposed to work for student borrowers. We fixed what was called the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. By the time I took office, that program had been in place for nearly 15 years. But because of red tape, only 7,000 borrowers had been helped. Well, today, thanks to the reforms, more than 700,000 borrowers have had their debts forgiven.
So the president also announced another $9 billion in debt relief. And the way the president has done this, of course, you remember earlier this year, his initial debt relief of wiping out billions of dollars of student debt was struck down by the Supreme Court as unconstitutional, beyond his power. Couldn't do that by executive order. Now what the president has done is gone through the Higher Education Act and allowed the Secretary of Education to use a few little loopholes in there to try to move this through. He seems to be on much stronger constitutional footing in terms of getting that done. It will be interesting to see how the president lays that out and sustains that moving forward. Those are big dollar numbers, and again, it's still an interesting sticky wicket for the president to navigate as it relates to student loan forgiveness. We'll close out our presidential politics segment by looking at an interesting number from Gallup. 63% of Americans now say they are up for a third party, that they would be willing to not cross any lines, but go to a third party, and a third alternative to the presidential politics of it all. And so that's an interesting number that continues to creep up. It's the highest it's been in a long, long time. We've obviously had the two-party majorities, and more people are wanting to see another alternatives. In fact, more Republicans want to see a third alternative than Democrats currently. And so that's an interesting piece of the puzzle. There's always the arguments of a third party will just split off Democrats and let Republicans win, or split off Republicans and let Democrats win. And that's what they want you to believe. To me, it's really looking at who are the candidates and who has the best vision moving forward for the country. And that doesn't have a political stamp on it. It doesn't have a party stamp on it. It has a principle and a policy stamp on it. And we should choose not based on the fear of letting the other side or the other person win, but we have to actually look at it a little differently. In fact, coming up on Monday, we're going to have a fascinating conversation about how we change the dynamics of all of this, not going by sides, but actually by taking positions instead. And we'll get to that coming up on Monday, so make sure you tune in Monday to Inside Sources as well. All right, that wraps up our the inside of presidential politics for the week. We'll step aside for a quick break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to have a crucial conversation about what happened to all the money that was rolling out during the pandemic. Where did it go? And did it get to the right places in the right way? We'll talk about that coming up next. Stick around.
Here's one part of life that doesn't need pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice has quite a powerful political lobby.
Breaking news and fall weather updates are all the spice you need. Start with Utah's Morning News with Tim and Amanda from 5 to 9.
Good morning.
Then David Dujanovic, Boyd Matheson, and Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News as you drive home. News, analysis, variety. The spice of life.
So good.
On KSL News Radio.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I'm looking for fuel injector cleaner.
Right now, you can get 2 bottles of STP Super Concentrated Fuel Injector Cleaner for only $10 at AutoZone.
Will it also help with my mileage?
Get everything you need to restore your performance in MPGs.
Get in zone.
Wait, is it good for trucks too?
Whatever vehicle you have, you can find the right products and parts at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Go to KSLkids.com and donate to the KSL Give-a-thon. We need your help raising money for sick Utah kids receiving treatment at Primary Children's Hospital.
Be a smile maker. An automatic gift each month helps save the lives of children all year long. Sponsored by J&J Garden Center in Layton.
A big thanks to other generous sponsors, including Big Canyon Homes and Sugar House Industries, for their amazing support of the kids at Primary Children's.
With the KSL Give-a-thon, we can't do it without you. Please give.
As the weather turns colder, this is when you need to get those new windows. So call Advanced Window Products. They'll replace your single-pane, rickety old windows with stylish, state-of-the-art double-pane windows with precision frames. You pick the style and color. They're custom-made right here in Salt Lake City. This company is so Utah. It's run by 2 guys who grew up here, Jake Weber and Utes defensive star Nate Orchard, the mayor of Sacktown with 7 NFL seasons under his belt. Great guys, great company building high-quality windows for 37 years. Unlike other companies, they build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. No middleman. There's Jake, Nate, and their team, and there's you, saving on the highest quality windows. Right now, before winter, get $2,000 off 10 windows or more, and they offer 60 months, 0% financing. So call Advanced Window Products now. You could have stylish new windows in 8 weeks. 801-850-9100. 801-850-9100, or visit AdvancedWindowsUSA.com.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best.
What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15s. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit. And make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
KSL has your tickets for Taylor. We're filling a Megaplex theater full of Swifties, and we want you there. Listen for the keyword weekdays at 8:45, 11:45, and 3:45. Then text it to 57500 for your chance to win. Want a reminder? Text the word Taylor to 57500 and we'll alert you when the contest is about to start. Details and more chances to win at KSLNewsRadio.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, September's job numbers were strong, and that may be enough to trigger another interest rate hike by the Federal Reserve. Second, deputies in a town outside Colorado Springs found 115 bodies stored in a mortuary. There have been no arrests in that case yet. Third, a yearly survey says Utah's teens are spending more time online and feeling depressed more often. Right now, 65 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
When we talk about the billions and billions of dollars that is spent on a wide range of things from the federal government, it's always important that we go back and check it out. Did the results match up? Was there any waste, fraud, or abuse? Was it necessary? Was it needed? Was it sustainable? And in particular, it's important for us to go back. So much was flying through the doors as COVID-19 pandemic spread. A new report from the Government Accountability Office has found that pandemic unemployment fraud is over $100 billion and counting. So we want to take a look at where is that coming from? What are the lessons to be learned to make sure this doesn't happen again, and to make sure that we get, if we're going to spend the money, let's make sure we spend it in the right ways and actually get a result in return. And to help us do that, always good to have back on the program Matt Weidinger, Senior Fellow and Rose Scholar in Opportunity and Mobility Studies at the American Enterprise Institute. And Matt, welcome back to the show.
Good to be with you.
You had a great breakdown of looking at this up to $135 billion just in unemployment fraud. Give us the baseline there.
Sure. So, as you said, the Government Accountability Office, which is kind of the accounting arm, it's a nonpartisan organization within the government that looks at how programs are run, did a report a couple weeks ago that found that of the around $900 billion in unemployment benefits, mostly federal, some state, that was spent during the pandemic, so that was between March of 2020 roughly through about September of 2021, of that amount, up to $135 billion was lost due to fraud. And really what they didn't include in this report is other estimates have higher numbers for improper payments, which is kind of a higher, it's sort of a looser question. It's misspending, overpayments, some underpayments. But some people think as much as $400 billion was misspent of that $900 billion. So you're talking huge numbers.
So out of that $900 billion, it could be anywhere from over 10% to that to almost 40% if you look at those ranges. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. So like I said, it is enormous numbers. This program, it normally has about 10% improper payments. And a lot of that is people go back to work after they collect benefits. They don't tell the government about it, or they forget, or, whatever. And the government catches them, and then they have to pay it back, usually through tax refund offsets or their future unemployment benefits are docked. This is a whole different animal. This was criminal gangs, small-time, criminal gangs in the United States, all the way up to international criminal syndicates based in China and Russia, loosely affiliated with those governments, targeted the program and ripped it off by using people's stolen identities to claim benefits without their being aware.
Wow, that is stunning. And so as you look at that, what are the takeaways? What are the lessons that we should learn, especially when we're in a pandemic or we're in a moment of crisis where everything seems to be fire ready aim? Do we have some things that we ought to be putting in place to make sure we don't go down this path another time?
Yeah, I actually just submitted some testimony to a couple of committees in Congress with a colleague and kind of walked through all those would-be solutions to this problem. The number one thing is don't do the really dumb stuff that we did this time. So this time we created special programs that had far looser eligibility criteria than the regular unemployment benefit program does that states have operated since FDR. And those things, those criteria did things like basically take people's word when they said they were eligible for benefits. Take people's word that they were who they said they were, so not even confirming identity. And then, almost kind of most bizarrely in the context of an unemployment program, don't even check if the person worked and had earnings before when they're now claiming benefits that after they've been laid off. So there were some really basic safeguards that were let down, as you said, in the interest of, flooding the zone, like sending money out the door as quickly as possible. We should not do that again.
Yeah, so important. Give us some of the other things that maybe bubble up to the surface in terms of not just this particular program, but other programs that maybe might need a little tightening and a little more scrutiny to, again, make sure we don't have that waste, fraud, and abuse and that we're actually getting real results.
Sure. Some of it boils down to what I think if your listeners thought about this for a second, it's just sort of like basic good operating practices on the part of government. Unemployment benefits are paid all around the country. One state should know if another state is paying unemployment benefits in a person's name and not pay those benefits a second time. But they didn't. It's stuff like that. I mean, it even gets to the level of the government obviously has data about when people die. Social Security maintains that for obvious reasons. You don't want to keep paying Social Security benefits. States should check those databases of people who are deceased and not pay benefits to dead people. That didn't happen this time. So it's sort of basic operational intelligence that should be practiced that really isn't practiced too often in these programs. And often, it's defended by saying, oh, well, we need to get money in people's hands and all that. But what we did in this case was, at an unprecedented level, got money in the wrong people's hands, and taxpayers, of course, are paying for all this.
And that is one of those examples of speed really being part of the problem and the detriment in the end. And talk to me for just a second about that sharing of data. How much of that is just problematic because states and the federal government aren't communicating or coordinating? How much of that is it's because it's walled off or it isn't accessible to folks so that they can do some of those very simple cross-checks that you pointed out?
Right. There's some part of this that involves sort of the privacy of tax data and, wage data and things like that. But most of it is just the programs operate in such a way that one state doesn't talk to the other, and then the federal government comes behind and says, oh, we're going to give you all this money and we expect you to pay it. But the states then don't have the systems to confirm that the federal money is being spent well. So it really is sort of a basic dysfunction at the start. And then you come across a pandemic like this and Congress wants to respond and help people and provide this and economic stimulus checks and the PPP program and also, all the rest of the stuff. But it doesn't think through the steps of there are bad people out there they will recognize the weakness in these systems and go after it. And that happened more so than ever this time.
Yeah, well, it is one of those opportunity always favors the prepared, and that opportunity may be a disaster or may be a pandemic. But if you're prepared, then you've got a process in place that you can keep everything going. And you're absolutely right in terms of those who are going to target and try to maximize the chaos or the rush or the loosening of the regulations or the disciplines. Always get you into trouble there. Matt Widener, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. He's also a Rose Scholar in Opportunity and Mobility Studies there at AEI. And Matt, always appreciate your perspective. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. So many things to be learned. Again, that was just one program. That was just one program during the pandemic. And up to 40% went to the wrong people. went to the thugs and bad guys or people who were taking advantage of a loose system. That's not good governance. And so if we get beyond the politics, maybe we can get our elected officials to focus on the governance, which is where they're supposed to put their focus every day to watch out how your money is actually being spent. All right, that wraps up hour number 1 of Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. We will step aside for top of the hour news, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, America's civics teacher, Sharon Says So. She's got millions of followers around the country. She's going to weigh in on a host of things. She'll actually be here in Utah next week. Stick around. We'll be right back.
KSL Salt Lake City. Listen at home on any smart speaker and in your car at 102.7 FM. This is KSL News Radio, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour, we're learning more about the state of Utah teenagers' mental health. The results of this year's SHARP survey shows more teens struggling with depressive symptoms than in previous years. Here's KSL News Radio's Amy Kobe.
The survey is done every year in 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th grades if the students agree. This year, the results show kids spending more time online with social media and video games outside of school. There's also an increase in teens feeling bullied both at school and online, and an increasing percent report feelings of depression.
More students also report getting less sleep than they have in previous years. Somebody apparently thinks it's funny to order hundreds of shipping boxes from the U.S. Postal Service and to have them delivered to somebody who has no use for them. That happened to a woman from Daybreak who says shipping them all back is a hassle. The express mail boxes are free, so she doesn't have to pay for them. Postal Service spokesperson says anybody who has a problem with deliveries can call their customer service number. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The United Auto Workers strike against the big 3 U.S. automakers is in its 4th week now. In Wayne, Michigan, they're preparing for another cold night on the picket line. Here's ABC's Ruta Olsenati in Wayne.
Members of UAW Local 900 knew a strike could happen this year and have been preparing for it for months now, gathering firewood to keep those on the picket line warm at night.
With the cold front coming in, we need a lot of firewood.
But it's not just firewood. Members have been operating on $500 a week since UAW President Shawn Fain announced the strike in September. And members, they're having a tough time affording the essentials like food and baby formula.
And your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day as we near the close of trading, 288 points. And the NASDAQ is up proportionately even higher, 211 points right now. Our KSL weather, just sunny and beautiful for the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time 2:02.
Snow and ice can make the roads dangerous for all of us.
So KSL staffs up for snow and emergency traffic coverage whenever you need it.
Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon here.
Your morning companions for news.
This is the lunch rush at your local deli. Orders are flying in. Online, on the phone, and in person.
Order for Nick.
So is it possible that fast internet could help your business outrun the rush? It is with Comcast Business. Up-leveling your speed with gig speed Wi-Fi, powering all your devices, and fast downloads and uploads, powered by the next generation 10G network. With Comcast Business, next-level speed isn't just possible, it's happening. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with fast speeds and advanced security for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying internet bundle. Call or go online to learn more. Ends 11/12/2023. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and automatic payments. New 50 megabits per second internet and security edge customers only. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After 12 months, regular rates apply. Gig Wi-Fi requires gig internet and compatible router.
Held over due to popular demand. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 888-SPA-SALE or visit HotTubAndSwimSpaSale.com.
Get Mr. Mag's Performance Missionary Package. 1 performance suit, 4 and collar stretch shirts, 3 ties, 1 mission belt, and 1 pair of Echo or Johnston & Murphy shoes. Just $595.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a crash called out at 2100 South between 9th and 10th West. Then in Utah County, crews are going to be needing to do some emergency work on a structure. It's at the bridge at 925 North Main Street in Payson. It's an area you may want to consider avoiding. They will probably be blocking off traffic anytime now. Cypress Credit Union has the ease and expertise for all your business needs. Ask Cypress about payroll and HR resources, payment processing systems, lending needs, and more. Visit cypresscu.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, sunny and beautiful through the weekend with highs in the mid to upper 70s, and we're expecting a cold front to move in by the middle of next week. Right now, 66 degrees with sunshine. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources.
Inside Sources.
America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, the headline today, how does a former high school government and law teacher end up with millions of followers on social media? The headline would probably suggest that it would be doing something crazy or saying something provocative or outrageous. And you'd have to think again. It's actually been done by talking about principles and facts. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
Well, it is time to think again, and we're really thrilled to have joining us on the program today Sharon McMahon. She is a former high school government and law teacher, known as America's government teacher. Her mission is really to help fight and diminish the political misinformation and disinformation by sharing nonpartisan facts, talking about the institutions, and we're really thrilled to have her on the show, and she will actually be here in the state of Utah next week. And Sharon, welcome back.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Well, let's dive in. Parents and educators across the country are having all kinds of unique challenges when it comes to civics and civility and history. Give us your approach in terms of going after some of those topics that can be the hot button topics of the day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And for me, one of the things that I have found is really important and something that I encourage educators, parents, and just friends and neighbors to think about is instead of focusing on helping people remember the correct talking points or telling them what to think, I really try to focus on helping people learn how to think about something, because it is really difficult to make up an empty mind, right? If you have no facts on a topic, you cannot make an educated opinion. So understanding how the system works helps people feel like they can make, more educated choices for themselves and their family. So my approach is always about how to think about an issue instead of what to think about an issue.
Yeah, that's right. And as you base that on those principles, and as people do get that education and the correct information, it does give them confidence to actually be more civically involved and engaged.
That's right. And it's kind of like taking care of your health, right? Like you need the right information to take care of your health. And then once you have that right information, you can feel empowered that you are making the right choices for yourself. It's the same kind of idea. Once you have the right information, and by the right information, I mean facts and the principles of democracy, then you can feel empowered to become civically engaged, and like you're not going to fall in some kind of crazy social media trap where you're reposting things that end up being not true. You feel embarrassed, and you actually know how you might be able to make a difference, because we all have a limited amount of time. We all have a limited amount of capacity, but yet we all care about our communities and we care about our neighbors and we want to make a difference. So understanding the system helps us figure out exactly how we might be able to use our unique resources and perspectives to make a difference in our community.
And that is the key, making a difference in the community. And one of the things that I love your approach to, Sharon, both on your Instagram at Sharon Says So, on your podcast, Here's Where It Gets Interesting, which I love the title just in and of itself. But you often talk from this framing, especially as it relates to our children, that parents and teachers have that shared civic responsibility, and then you kind of create this path where you can actually bridge what seems to be a divide that shouldn't be a divide with parents and teachers.
That's right. I mean, educating our children is, you said it exactly right. It's our shared responsibility. We can't do it without each other. We need each other, and we need each other to have healthy communities. Any teacher will tell you that parents are absolutely integral and make all of the difference in the success of a child in school, and vice versa. Every parent can probably tell you about a time that for them or for their child. So if we think about this idea that we are all working on the same team and we are all pulling for the same goal of having peaceful, prosperous, happy, well-adjusted children and communities, just thinking about it from that perspective instead of it's us against them, I think makes such a huge difference when we are having these conversations in our school board meetings, in our church groups, with our neighbors at a barbecue. It's all of us together towards a common goal and not us versus them.
That's so good. And I love you'll be here in Utah coming up on October the 10th next week. You'll be part of the Utah Valley University Fall Civics Educator Conference. And I love the title, Home Cooking with Schoolhouse Seasoning. That is it. It is home and it's school, as teachers and parents coming together. And again, this will be sponsored by the Center for Constitutional Studies at Utah Valley University. Give us a sense of what you're hoping to engage with, what you hope the conversation will be next Tuesday.
Well, it starts with a conference for parents and educators. Anybody who wants to come to the conference to learn more, there's lots of breakout sessions and panels that I'll be participating in. But then in the evening, I will have a keynote. I'm very excited to get to meet so many Utah governors. They are some of the most enthusiastic and kind, warm, genuine people in my community. But one of the things that I really want to leave people with a sense of is that it is what we need is for you to do what you can where you are with the resources available to you. And if we all do that, we can make an enormous difference, not just in our city or state, but in the world. I really want people to leave with a sense of empowerment and a sense of hope that what they're doing does matter, because sometimes it seems like it doesn't. Sometimes you turn on C-SPAN or you turn on the nightly news and you're like, what is going on here? You know, I'm sure you're familiar, Boyd.
I felt that, yeah. Even this morning, yeah.
Yes. What is going on here? So I really want people to leave with that sense of what I am doing matters. And here are some things that I can do. And if we all do our part, each of us doing something small makes a much bigger difference than a couple of us trying to do everything.
Yeah.
And we are all needed and necessary and important.
So that is the crucial conversation, to be sure. And I know of the millions of followers you have online, tens of thousands of them are actually right here in the state of Utah.
They are. Oh, yes.
I want to get to one last thing with you, Sharon, before I let you go, and that is we've been talking a lot this week. Former Speaker of the House Paul Ryan was down at Utah Valley University yesterday. We had a good chat with him, and we were talking about the younger generation and their distrust of institutions. Talk to me for a second about what educators, what parents can do to help change that, to restore that trust, that confidence in the institutions, and most importantly, the trust in each other in our communities.
It's such a good question, and it's such an important topic because any democracy, and of course the United States is now the world's oldest continuous democracy, any democracy depends on the strength of its institutions. And I'm not talking about like a banking institution. I'm talking about the institutions that hold up this beautiful democracy, beautiful diverse democracy that we have in this country. So a distrust of institutions very much begins at home. And so if we want our families to grow up feeling like, yes, I can see where this institution needs improvement, and here are some ways that we can work to improve it, but I still believe in the principles of democracy. Democracy will always be flawed because it's made up of flawed humans, but that it is the best that we have. We have nothing better. There's nothing waiting in the wings, Boyd. It's this. So we have to work to make it better, and we can do that together.
That's right. It is the worst form of government, with the exception of everything else, right?
It's the most infuriating, with the exception of every other type of government. That's right.
So good. Well, we are looking forward to having you in the state again coming up on Tuesday at the Utah Valley University Fall Civics Educator Conference. Sharon McMahon speaking there, 7 p.m. on campus. Also workshops going on during the day. You can check those out at the UVU website as well. And of course, if you aren't already, you need to get going, because this will help your day be just a little better and have a little more confidence in the institutions and in each other as we have these crucial conversations in our community. You can follow her at Sharon Says So on Instagram, and then, of course, her podcast as well. Sharon, thanks so much for making time for us. We look forward to seeing you next week right here in the state of Utah.
Thanks, Boyd.
All right. Some great perspective there from Sharon McMahon. Again, at Sharon Says So on Instagram. Also, great podcast. Here's where it gets interesting, because it always gets interesting when it comes to all of this. And she just has such a great practical, tactical approach. Many of you ask, well, what can I do? How can I have a little more confidence going into a school board meeting or talking to an elected official or weighing in on an election? These are all things that you can do, and these are conversations you can have right in your home. And Sharon McMahon makes it so simple to get to the principles, again, beyond the rhetoric, beyond the misinformation, beyond the disinformation, so that we can have better dialogue and get to better results for all of us in our homes, in our community, in the state, and right here in the United States of America.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson.
The country's largest used RV show is back and better than ever. Come find the biggest used RV selection in years, October 5th through the 7th at the Shops at Southtown. We're bringing in a massive range of used RVs from 6 locations in 3 states for this event. Shop used travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, toy haulers, and more, all on site. Plus, find even more used models online at countriesrvshow.com. You'll find used RV pricing starting as low as $10,000. Along with a huge selection of used RVs, find new RVs straight from the factory, already discounted for fall. Plus, all remaining 2023s are at fall show pricing. Strike the best RV deal of the season with no payments until 2024 on approved credit. Not to mention huge trade-in offers on your current RV. And check out our Hunter's Corner just in time to kick off your hunting season. We'll also have consignment RVs at private sale prices, backed by dealer support. Don't miss your best chance to extend your fall camping season during the country's largest used RV show. 3 days only, October 5th through the 7th at the Shops at Southtown. Open daily at 10 a.m. with free admission. Sponsored by Bish's RV.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15s. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey guys, Alex and Scott for Alpine Home Medical. You've heard us talking about and singing the praises of Alpine Home Medical for years, because if you're talking about getting home medical supplies, these are the folks who are going to do it for you at the best price. They're local. They know how to treat their customers. Scott, we've had a lot of experiences with the folks at Alpine Home Medical over the years.
And they really do know how to treat you, because it can be a scary thing. You go online, you don't know what to get. You're not sure about things. You walk in the store and they're going to take care of you from the minute you get there. You're going to sit down with a professional. They're going to work through your insurance. They're going to get you the right supplies for yourself. I have a CPAP machine. I've been in, I've done this, and they're incredible, but it's not just when you're in the store, it's after you leave. They're going to take care of you, call, make sure everything's just right. These medical devices are important, and you want to feel safe, and you want to feel secure, and you want to feel you got the right thing to take care of yourself.
It's everything, too. The power scooters, the CPAP machines, any home medical supplies, they're going to be able to take care of you. And they've got great news. Brand new store in Tooele. They've been trying to expand to Tooele for years, and then here they are now. Go to alpinehomemedical.com to find a location near you. We're excited to see you out there in Tooele, folks. alpinehomemedical.com.
Go to KSLkids.com and donate to the KSL Give-a-thon. We need your help raising money for sick Utah kids receiving treatment at Primary Children's Hospital.
Be a smile maker. An automatic gift each month helps save the lives of children all year long. Sponsored by J&J Garden Center in Layton.
A big thanks to other generous sponsors, including Big Canyon Homes and Sugar House Industries, for their amazing support of the kids at Primary Children's.
With the KSL Give-a-thon, we can't do it without you. Please give.
Save $2,500 on a new furnace and air conditioner from Any Hour Services. For more information, call Any Hour Services or schedule a free estimate online at anyhourservices.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a yearly survey of teenagers in Utah shows more teens are feeling bullied and dealing with depression. Second, somebody decided to send hundreds of Postal Service packing boxes to a woman in Daybreak, apparently just to annoy her. And third, striking members of the United Auto Workers say they'll stay out on the picket line as long as it takes, even as the weather turns cold. Right now, 66 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Get deeper insights on the news from Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today, as always. I am Boyd Matheson. Well, of course, September 30th came and went. It comes every year. September 30th always comes. You can bank on it. And Congress once again failed in its most basic of functions, passing the individual appropriations bills that fund the government in the House and the Senate and on to the president to be signed to fund the government. So we keep having this crazy circus. We keep kicking the can down the road. We continue to fail for Congress to do its most basic function. It's not that hard. It is the job. But there are plenty of examples of how you can actually get this done, because it's not that hard. But amazingly, very few choose to do it. But there are some areas where there's a lot of hope, and there's a lot of lessons, there's a lot of disciplines, principles, and practices that could help. It comes at the states. We're back to federalism. Really pleased to have joining us on the program. Steve Johnson is the Center for Practical Federalism Fellow at the State Policy Network, former state representative from the state of Michigan. Steve, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Loved your piece in The Hill talking about the budget lessons that Washington can learn from the states. Give us a sense of that. You have a great perspective in the State Policy Network of how states are actually getting this done.
Yeah, a lot of people might not know this, but all 50 states have already passed their budgets for 2024. That's red states, that's blue states, purple states, and most of these are part-time lawmakers. And they actually go through, especially in Michigan, where I used to serve, a process where different departments have their own budget. There's a committee hearing on it. There's discussions. You go back and forth about how much money a certain program should get or if it should be funded at all. It goes to the House floor. There's debate. You start to negotiate with the Senate, and eventually you reach a deal. It doesn't mean I always like what's in the budget or I vote against the budget sometimes, but there's actually a process we went through. Congress does not seem to do that. Instead, they sort of wait till the last minute. They do these continuing resolutions. They just sort of, kick the can down the road without actually doing an open process. And there's no reason for that. Most of these lawmakers came from the states. They know there's a better way to do it, and they have to look back to the states and try to follow their lead as they move forward.
Yeah, I love the fact that you pointed out that so many of these state lawmakers are really part-time lawmakers. So this is not even, we always say, Congress, you've got a year to do this. Surely you can get it done. In the states, many of them have very limited time. Here, we're only a 45-day legislative session, along with some committee work along the way. But why is it that these states can be so efficient, even with part-time legislatures, where Congress, even with a whole year to get it done, never quite seems to get it done?
Well, trying to explain why D.C. is broken could take a long time. But I think at the end of the day, the reason is because they know that there's a certain time frame they have to get it done, and they know this is their most basic function at the state level. It's why they got elected. And I think it just works better in a state because it's smaller, it's easier to manage. And honestly, I think this makes a very good case for federalism. If D.C. can't even get a budget done, maybe they should start to give some away some of the other authority to the states. Let the states handle more. They've clearly shown that they can handle making a budget better. They can probably manage healthcare better. They can probably manage education better. It really kind of shows all this dysfunction in D.C. Something is broken there. They're trying to do too much. Give it back to the states. They can get along with each other. We might not always agree, but we can sometimes figure out how to get together and make a budget and make stuff, get stuff done.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate for our listeners what you said earlier, Steve, that all 50 states have already passed budgets for 2024. All of them. Not a state, whether it's red or blue or purple or anything in between, they've gotten it done. And as you described it, Steve, that process, it's out in front of the people. It's not this last night, late night, middle, behind closed doors kind of process where, the political class tends to hide out, and lobbyists love to lurk in those hallways for a few extra snacks going into whatever the continuing resolution is. And so talk to us just a little bit more from a federalism standpoint. Let's kind of put some practical, tactical to that. What are some other areas where it seems really obvious where the federal government isn't getting it done, where the states could actually do it and probably do it better?
Yeah, well, if I can real quickly just show with the budget process, when you don't have that open process, when it doesn't go through the committee, all the power goes to a very few select individuals in leadership. And so that harms everyone because all of a sudden your congressman is no longer involved. But if we look at other issues, I think especially in Utah there, public lands, right? Congress can't seem to figure out how to get a budget done, but they think that they can manage the public land in Utah better than the state can themselves. I think the people that live in that state can probably figure out how to manage their land in a way that's respectful to the environment, but also making sure that you can harvest resources in a way that provides jobs and boosts your economy. But as we see over and over again, the federal government wants to try to micromanage all that. They're very hesitant to give up any control of the land. They want to just completely control everything. And we should look at that and say, they can't get so many things right in Washington. I think maybe the people in the states can manage the land better. They can do it in a way that's going to be beneficial to their economy while also respecting the environmental impact as well. So, and there's so many other examples, but I think public lands is definitely an issue that you can look and say, obviously that should be handled by the states and not the federal government.
Yeah, so important. Great conversation, great piece at thehill.com. Steve Johnson is the Center for Practical Federalism Fellow at the State Policy Network and a former state representative for the state of Michigan. And we always like to have our Michigan folks on. So, Steve, we appreciate you joining us today and some great perspective and just some crucial lessons that I wish Washington would learn from the states and actually get a few things done for we the people. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I just love how Steve laid all of this out, because we keep talking about when is it going to get done? When are they going to fund the government? When are they going to pass these 12 appropriations bills that they know are due every September 30th, and yet they haven't done it for 4 decades. There's only been a couple of times where things have even got done at all. But we just keep doing these continuing resolutions, which really aren't just keeping things on autopilot. They're actually increasing costs because there's always a few what they often call Christmas tree ornaments that get stuck on. And those are nice little pet projects, a little bit of spending here and there to help people back home, a little bit for your lobbyists and lawyer friends. And all of that just puts us on that path to $33+ trillion in debt. And it just doesn't work. But the states do it. And I just want to say it one more time because it's just flabbergasting to me. All 50 states, all of them, red, blue, purple, have all passed their budgets for 2024. And the federal government, with a whole year, again, most of those states have part-time citizen legislatures. They're getting it done in no time. And the federal government can't seem to do it with all the time. We'll step aside for a quick bottom-of-the-hour break. Don't go anywhere. We got a really important conversation coming up next. It is that time of year for KSL Give-a-thon. Don't miss this exciting opportunity to learn more about giving back to our community, doing something that makes a difference. We'll talk about that coming up next. Stick around.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. Utah's built more homes in this decade than almost any other state, but getting a home is still a struggle. The home building bump actually reversed last year. Fewer houses on the market means prices are rising again. To get a single-family house in Salt Lake County, buyers are looking at a median price of $580,000. The Old Farmer's Almanac predicting a strong winter in Utah, but our KSL meteorologists say that's no guarantee. Many are hoping El Nino can help bring more water to Utah, but in order for it to impact the state, we need active weather patterns bringing storms in from the coast.
Warmer storms with a lot of moisture with them, a lot of subtropical influence. If we can get that going and have that spill over the Sierra Nevada and into Utah, we'll have a pretty good winter.
KSL meteorologist Matt Johnson says we've had El Nino years go both ways before, but he says based on long-range data, we're leaning towards another at or above average water year. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Now that they've gotten rid of their speaker, President Biden says it's time for Republicans in the House to get down to business.
It's time to stop fooling around. House Republicans, it's time for you to do your job. Continue our progress, growing the economy, investing in America, investing in the American people. So let's get to work for the American people. They're waiting and they're watching. We got to get to work.
The president says he'll work with whoever the majority party chooses as their next speaker. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average closing trading today up 288 points, and the NASDAQ up 211 points today. The S&P 500 also up about 50 points. And our KSL weather, just beautiful sunny skies for the next several days. KSL News Time, 2:32.
Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
On KSL News Radio.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Hey guys, do you know what makes Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City different? You. Every Revive treatment and medication is personalized just for you. Revive has the experts that guys go to when their current treatment isn't working. They have a complicated medical condition, or they're just not happy with their daily performance. Since 2011, they've helped thousands of local men suffering with the symptoms of low T and ED. Their goal is simple: to get to the bottom of your issues and fix them. Your best performance requires more than generic ED medications or a low-dose testosterone booster at a low-ball price like you find online. Revive medications are custom compounded, affordable, and guaranteed to resolve your issues. Stop dealing with the symptoms of low T or ED. Book your T-check and exam today. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit us at ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Lowe's knows how to save pros time and money. Right now, get 15% off select gelled Win windows and patio doors. And there's more. Earn 3 times MVP's bonus points on select Klein tools. Visit us in-store or online for more deals you can't beat. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Offer valid 10/5 through 10/11. Selection varies by location. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid through 10/27.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
We already have some slowdowns setting in southbound I-15 Murray, Midvale, and northbound I-15 going through Sandy. Plus, if you're going to be heading south, just remember, for weekend plans, you want to allow a lot of extra travel time right now due to emergency road work at Mona on southbound I-15. That freeway is experiencing unusually heavy delays due to traffic being down to only one lane of travel. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, sunny and beautiful through the weekend, highs in the mid to upper 70s. We're expecting a cold front to move in by the middle of next week. Right now we're at 68 degrees with sunshine. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The KSL Giveathon is off and running. Join Boyd Matheson as we hear one of the stories of healing from Primary Children's Hospital and become a smile maker at KSLKids.com.
Well, every day on this program, I close out the show. The last thing I say is I encourage you to go out and do something that makes a difference. And it is that time of year again to do something that makes a difference. It's time for the KSL's annual Giveathon. Every year, we partner with Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital to help raise money for the kids right here in Salt Lake City. And it's a great opportunity for everyone to just simply do something to make a difference. And you can do that right now. You can do that by visiting KSLKids.com, or you can just text the word SMILE to 57500 and just become a smile maker. It's a really simple process to be able to help those with our friends at Primary Children's Hospital. And one of those kids that has really been not only going through a real incredible journey, but is also making his own difference, is Noah Reeb. He's 12 years old. He plays football, and he's recovering from cancer. And we're really pleased to have Noah and his mom, Jackie Reeb, on the phone with us. And Noah, let's start with you. Tell us about kind of your journey. You love football, and then suddenly you got hit with cancer. Tell us about it.
Hi. Yeah, so when I got diagnosed with cancer,
Oh, I think we lost Noah there. Did we lose him altogether? Oh, I think we've lost Noah and his mom. We'll get them back on the line here in just a minute, but that's okay. That gives you a chance to take some action and do something to make a difference. So I use the term Smile Maker, and that's where you just set up to do a recurring donation of $15 a month or more. And we want to make sure we get at least 3 new Smile Makers in before we get to the top of the hour at 3 o'clock. So we'll do 3 before 3. I'll even take multiples of 3. How about 9 before 3? And all you have to do is go to KSLKids.com, or you can text the word SMILE to 57500 and just become a Smile Maker. And, of course, we do this in concert and tandem with our friends at J&J Garden Center for being our Smile Maker sponsor. They just do an extraordinary job every year with this effort to make a real difference, not only for the children at Children's Hospital, but we also are so grateful for the professionals up there who take care to a whole new level. It's not just about administering really hard stuff to young people who are struggling with a wide range of injuries or ailments, but they create this experience that enables everyone to move forward in a positive way. All right, we've got Noah back. And Noah, tell me a little bit about your fight starting in 2021.
So when I first was diagnosed with cancer, it was a really scary time, and I had no clue what it was, and I was really scared. But my parents were comforting me and telling me that it was going to be okay. And so when I first stepped into Primary Children's Hospital, I felt like it was a home away from home, and I just felt comfortable there, and I felt like that it was like the right place to be at that time.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. I'm going to have your mom jump on for a second, and then we're going to come back and talk football, so don't go anywhere. Jackie, as the mom, that has to be just such a challenging thing to go from kind of migraines, a lot of doctor visits. Kind of walk us through that part of the journey and the role that Primary Children's played in that.
Yeah, so I mean, no parent wants to go into a scan and hear that kind of diagnosis that your 9-year-old son has brain cancer. I think at the time we weren't familiar with pediatric cancer, and we weren't even very familiar with Primary Children's, although I know other people around us depended on them for many of their emergencies for their kids. So yeah, within 48 hours, we had to pack up our bags and, take Noah out of school and alert, all family and friends. And he went into his first brain surgery about 48 hours later.
Wow.
That was one of 2 brain surgeries. And he was a kid that really didn't spend much time in a doctor's office or at a hospital. So, he plays rough and, he's sporty and athletic, but he rarely had to go to the doctor for anything. So it was a shock for all of us. But what Primary Children's did so well, I mean, you do feel like it's a home away from home in the sense that everybody there is centered around you and your child and anything to help make you more comfortable. And there's such good energy there. And I think anyone walking in there, it just feels different. You know that you are in a very special place.
It is a special place to be sure. And for all of our listeners, this is the easiest thing you're going to do today. Do something to make a difference. KSLKids.com or text the word SMILE to 57500. Become a Smile Maker. It's just a recurring donation, $15 a month or more. We want to get at least 3 new Smile Makers in before 3 o'clock today. I'm going for multiples. Let's see if we can't get 9 Smile Makers in before the top of the hour. Noah, I know you are a football guy, and you're in remission. You're now playing quarterback for your football team. You have a really important bit of word of wisdom that when I read it, I'm like, Noah totally gets it. Share with us your words of wisdom of where champions are made.
I think champions are made in hard times, and it's harder to stay on top than it is to get to the top. So, I mean, it's champions are just made at the bottom and in hard times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that never giving up. And you actually had a pretty decent quarterback help you out a little bit along the way. Tell us about that.
So during cancer, I always wanted to go to a Buccaneers football game to see Tom Brady because I loved him and he was just like, he's my idol. And so my parents, once I beat cancer, they told me that I could go to a Bucs game. And so that's what we did. And so we made a sign. My mom's idea was to make a sign. And so we could just tell them thank you. And so we made that sign. And then when we made it, we got to the game. And there was like so many people that were just like hugging me and like giving me just a pile of stuff, like high fives and just like souvenir cups and stuff. And anyway, so and then at the end it started to trickle out, and Tom Brady saw the sign, and then so he came over and gave me the hat. He put a hat on my head, and shook my hand. And that was an awesome moment.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, we got to say thank you.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, that is great. Well, Noah and Jackie, we appreciate you joining us today on Inside Sources, and you are an inspiration to us, and I know you're really a living legacy of what happens every day at Primary Children's Hospital here in Salt Lake City. The care is extraordinary. The experience, it is home, an extension of home, and it is just second to none anywhere in the world. And so Jackie and Noah, thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and this is your chance. We always end. Do something that makes a difference. Do something that makes a difference right now. KSLKids.com or text the word SMILE to 57500. We need at least 3. We'll go for 9 if we can. Smile Makers. To be a Smile Maker, you just set up a recurring donation, $15 a month or more, an easy way to make a difference with our friends at Primary Children's Hospital. And a big thanks to our friends at J&J Garden Center for being part of this important effort to do something that makes a difference. All right, we'll step aside for one last break. When we come back, we're going to revisit some of the comments from former Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. We'll also have a special guest talking about some of the younger voters, what they're looking at, what they're hoping for in the future. Stick around. We'll wrap it up coming up next.
And with that,
The office of Speaker of the House is hereby declared vacant.
the U.S. House removes its Speaker for the first time in history. And no amount of finger-pointing or blame can change it.
He did what speakers are supposed to do. He passed the bill.
This is a Republican civil war.
Getting 200 Republicans to trust you isn't enough to stay Speaker.
What happens in Congress next, and how do we fix a House that is broken? Listen each day this week to KSL News Radio.
I always say don't go at it alone, especially when it comes to your weight loss journey, getting into that healthy shape. Don't do it alone. It's one of the things that made all the difference for me when I did SOTA weight loss. SOTA stands for state-of-the-art weight loss because it is state-of-the-art. I lost 37 pounds in just 90 days. I'm almost 2 years in and still right there at my ideal weight. And it's because I didn't do it alone. Every week I'd get a text. I'd have a call with my consultant and coach and nutritionist. We'd make the little tweaks to make sure my body was getting the energy that it needed. I had more clarity. I felt better. I slept better all through that important journey. In fact, just yesterday, I got a text from my coach just checking in. How you doing? What do we need? What do we need to tweak? Are you really feeling at your best? And that's what happens with SOTA weight loss. I'm not the only one. There's many more around the country. As I always say, when it comes to your SOTA weight loss journey, there's no time to lose. There's only time to win. So start winning. Check it out at sotaweightloss.com, SOTA weightloss.com.
The country's largest used RV show is back and better than ever. Come find the biggest used RV selection in years, October 5th through the 7th at the Shops at Southtown. We're bringing in a massive range of used RVs from 6 locations in 3 states for this event. Shop used travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, toy haulers, and more all on site. Plus, find even more used models online at countriesrvshow.com. You'll find used RV pricing starting as low as $10,000. Along with a huge selection of used RVs, find new RVs straight from the factory already discounted for fall. Plus, all remaining 2023s are at fall show pricing. Strike the best RV deal of the season with no payments until 2024 on approved credit. Not to mention huge trade-in offers on your current RV. And check out our Hunter's Corner just in time to kick off your hunting season. We'll also have consignment RVs at private sale prices backed by dealer support. Don't miss your best chance to extend your fall camping season during the country's largest used RV show. 3 days only, October 5th through the 7th at the Shops at Southtown. Open daily at 10 a.m. with free admission. Sponsored by Bish's RV.
Home is your sanctuary, or is it? If you're tired of yard work, too much space to clean over multiple levels, listen up. Start enjoying home a little more with Nielsen Homes' newest single-level townhomes. Move in ready without the thought of tedious yard work and close to all the things you love and enjoy. Nielsen Homes offers spacious single-level open floor plans without stairs or yard work and a lower 5.5% interest rate. Nielsen Homes has been building homes across the Wasatch Front for over 45 years. They understand understand all stages of life and build homes to accommodate the things you need. Pair it with things you love. See their newest single-level living community in Davis and Weber County, close to golf, pickleball, and more. It's low-maintenance luxury single-level living. No stairs, no more lawnmowers, no yard work, no waiting, and no high interest rates. Visit Nilson Homes Communities at nilsonhomes.com. Call 385-389-1160. Online at nilsonhomes.com.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our clients' best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured, so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly, different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Utah's been building more new houses than any other state, but they're still out of reach for many people. Second, forget the scientific forecast. The Old Farmer's Almanac says we're going to have a big winter. And third, President Biden is telling Republicans in Congress he'll work with whoever they choose as a speaker, but it's time to get down to the business of funding the government. Right now, 68 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today, as always. I am Boyd Matheson, and as we round out the program today, we actually want to go back to a little bit of the conversation from yesterday when we were joined live on the program by former Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. Of course, he spoke yesterday down at Utah Valley University, part of the Gary R. Herbert Institute for Public Policy. And, of course, the big focus of the day was around the young people. So we're actually going to get some expert analysis as we break it down, post-game analysis. William Matheson's joining us on the program today. And, Will, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to start with something Paul Ryan explained as he talked about why he's hopeful about the country and the future, and it happens to do with a lot of the folks that are your peers.
I teach at Notre Dame now, and I've been teaching there. This is my 5th year teaching at Notre Dame, and I also nominated all these young people to the military academies.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
part of the job,
yeah,
right?
It's part of your job. Everybody in Congress does this, and so you see all these incredible young people coming through, wanting to serve their country. Now I get to teach, I'm an Irish Catholic from the Midwest, so you grow up, with Notre Dame in
Notre
your blood.
Dame's it.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is it gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of young, exciting, just capable, talented, idealistic young people who just have a cool life ahead of them. And it gives me hope. It gives me confidence.
All right, so that's former Speaker of the House Paul Ryan yesterday down on the campus of UVU. And William, as you listened to that, you were part of those events down there at UVU yesterday. Give us your sense in terms of what he was saying and what the application actually looks like.
I love how he talked about how he was filled with optimism as he interacted with people. And really, when you get down to it, when you interact with people on a personal level, you can't help but have optimism because people are good people 99% of the time. And it's only on the social media and when you're trying to get clickbait and all of the hits that's when division starts to come. And something that I really love that he talked about as he spoke to students at UVU and answered some questions, a lot of the questions centered around how can we get past this divisive rhetoric that we have today. And he went back to a basic economy principle that he, being a professor of economics, it makes sense. He talked about supply and demand. There is going to always be a supply for the demand that we the people have, especially when it comes to media content. It's super easy to put up an article. It takes not that much time, and it can be modified and transmitted to whatever the demand is. And if we, the people, start demanding better out of the social media, not just clicking on those clickbait headlines, and he took that a step further, not just demanding better social media, but demanding better politicians. Our elected officials, we get to choose them. And there's about a 90% re-election rate when it comes to Congress, but there's somewhere between 6 and 15% approval rate of Congress. So people are oftentimes passing the buck. They do not want to own up to the fact that their guy is not the guy. And so we need to demand better as a people, both from the media side of things, as well as making sure we're electing politicians that will do their job.
Such an important part of that process, and we continue to reward bad behavior. We get more bad behavior, and it seems like that's what we keep doing in our politics. Speaker Ryan also talked about one other interesting area in terms of young people, that they're starting to realize how important the institutions are. Even though there's a big lack of trust currently, he said there's still hope. Take a listen.
These young people that are, coming up in society, I think they're realizing that it's important to have these long-standing institutions that safeguard our basic founding principles, our creed.
Yeah.
And I think that they're understanding that these institutions are worthy of defending and supporting, and that there's a generation that's of populism, coursing through our society. Yeah. You sort of have moral relativism with the accelerant of digitization that is pervaded throughout our society. That is coarsening these institutions, that is sort of eroding against these institutions. And I do believe that there are a lot of young people who believe we got to get back to the basics.
Yeah. It is about getting back to the basics. And so, William, as you were listening to that yesterday, looking at those institutions, how do you see it? How do you see us getting that trust and confidence back in the institutions?
Well, it does start with what he talked about of moral relativism. We have to come down to the fact that truth is truth. There are certain things and principles that are true, and we have to agree on those. Most of the people in America, in Congress, have a set things that they believe, and we need to get those down in writing, that this is truth, and we're not going to have to debate these things. And as we go forward, Paul Ryan also talked about how we need to fix certain things about the process. But what I love is he didn't just throw everything to the wind and say that we need to restart from ground zero, because the Constitution, while it does have its faults, it is a good document. It has stood the test of time better than any other government thus far. And especially when it comes to, say, the Speaker of the House being ousted, he said you need to fix the process by using the process. We can't just expect that shouting and trying to shout our way into success. That's not going to happen. We have to use the processes that are already in place. And by using those, because it is an inspired document, we're able to use the Constitution to then progress our nation forward.
Yeah, it's so important. And the fact that you can learn the process. And I think that's one of the things that we're lacking in Congress, is the people who are willing to do the hard work and heavy lifting of learning the process and then using the process to actually do the work of the American people. I want to stick in one last comment from former Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, from down at UVU yesterday. He said that Congress knows how to fix all the problems, entitlement programs, dealing with the debt crisis. But he says it's going to take something, and what we got to have is a little bit more leadership.
There are great men and women in Congress, and both sides of the aisle, I would say.
Absolutely.
We have great men and women in Congress who understand the coming debt crisis, understand what we need to do to prevent it, how to reform these programs. And the good news in all of this is you can fix our debt crisis, these entitlement programs, without affecting current beneficiaries. Yeah. You just have to adjust the way these programs work for the next generation of beneficiaries. And you can do it in a way using 21st century technology and market mechanisms. Yeah. So you can still deliver on the promise of the program. So that's the good news in all of this story. The good news is we can have our social safety net, we can have our social contract, and get rid of the debt crisis. So we just got to change these programs. Yeah. And so that people in Congress know how to do this. The problem is people are so intimidated by the politics of getting it done. And we have to get past that. And that requires leadership. That requires leaders who are willing to tell the truth to the American people and put some political capital on to get this done.
So, William, listening to Speaker Ryan, he's talking about your generation who's going to have to deal with this mess. What is the leadership path forward?
Well, the leadership path forward is making sure we elect people who are actually going to get the job done. We can't just have big promises. We have to have people that have realistic promises. We can't go for the fanfare and the balloons, but we got to be pushing forward and making sure that the promises made actually have a plan behind them. We can't just have a, hey, I'm going to promise you everything and it's going to be fantastic, vote for me. It's got to be, I have this plan. I'm not going to be able to have every single thing you want because that's not realistic. When we have realistic plans, we have realistic outcomes, and that's what this nation needs.
Fantastic. Great perspective, William Matheson weighing in. Post-game analysis from former Speaker of the House Paul Ryan's address yesterday down at Utah Valley University, part of the Gary R. Herbert Institute for Public Policy. Really great discussion. If you missed any of that, you can, of course, pick it up on KSL Podcast. Also, stay tuned on Sunday. I have a deep dive conversation with Speaker Ryan that will air on KSL TV, Sunday edition, 9 a.m. Don't miss that as well. Well, that wraps it up for Inside Sources today here on KSL.